Hey everybody, David Becker here with BeckerArt, and today I want to do a little tutorial of how to do waves and reflections in water from boats. And so I'm just going to take some and wet the whole surface really quickly. Wet the whole surface with water, and I did have some blue in my brush, so that's fine. Just putting that in there. I'm just going to take it all the way down. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just wetting the surface all because I want to get all soft edges. And so we'll get the sky done right away, and we will get the water done right away. And when I talk about the water, there's basically three steps that I do, in the water. And one is first to get the overall effect of the ripple. The ripple of, is it solid? Does it have a little bit more ripple in it? And so what I want to show you is a little bit of a ripple into the water, the waves. And so let's just really quickly put in a sky. And so I'll just go from a dark plain sky, no clouds or anything like that. We're just going to take horizon blue, ultramarine blue, and just kind of go in there and do like a nice gradation from light to dark real quickly. I'm going to show you how to take and do smaller waves. And I learned this from a artist on Facebook. I saw how he had done it, and I'm just going to pass it on to you guys. And so now, first off, like I said, first I do the smoothness of the water. Basically just making it nice and smooth, and that the water does it on its own. So I'm just taking it like this. Now there we have a light to dark, right? Now I'm going to take my round brush and I'm going to start putting in the waves. And basically these are the dark side of the wave. So basically a wave, and let me just show you on a sheet of paper here. Let's make them not so big. So like let's say wave like that. So this part will be dark. That part will be dark, dark. And this is what you're looking at. You're seeing because the sun's coming from this way. And so this side, and then anything flat, like you see over here, this will be lighter than this, and then the very top will be where your white, or the lightest part is of the water. And so, basically what we're going to do is we're going to take thick amount of pigment, the color, or the same color that I'm using, but make sure I use solid pigment. I need to have, it's already wet, and so I'm going to really lightly go and see if it's see, that's almost too wet because it's bleeding too far. So I got to get more pigment, less water. So I kind of dab down and take and mix my color thick to get the water out. And then I'm just going to start doing from thin, thick, thin. I'm going to do these little waves, and that is still too wet because they're bleeding too far. I need to go thin, very thin. And I'm not worrying about the reflections yet. I'm worrying about each individual wave. You know, and the farther back I go, the smaller the waves are. So they go thick, thin, thick, thick, thin, thick, and try to vary it up a little bit depending on how the waves are going. And like I said, these are smaller ones, and you can make some a little bit wider, longer. And again, you notice I'm getting almost somewhat of a hard edge. Even though I know that this is going to be dark underneath there, I still want to give myself some waves. I still want a dark part, and like I said in that little illustration, this is the dark part. This is the part that I'm looking at, and it's like going uphill and goes over to the top and it goes down. And so these lighter parts in here, those are the parts that are level and going back up to the next little rise of the wave. So maybe here's some smaller waves going back. And as I come forward here, I'm going to pick up a lot of nice heavy amounts of pigment and make it a little bit bigger. And like you notice in this picture, the waves are kind of all over, like it hits something, so they're not so uniformed. I like to make them a little bit more uniform than the picture has them there. I'm just going to show you. You could copy the photograph and the fact that I'm doing the waves a little bit more like what you see in the photograph, or just generalize it like I'm doing right now. I'm just generalizing the look and shape of each wave. And as I come forward, the waves are going to make them a little bit bigger and darker. And see, I'm just making bigger waves, and they always start out thin, very thin, go thick. I push down my brush and then pull it away to make it thin again. I'll probably have to stop the recording, let this dry, and then finish it with the hard edges because this is the soft edge first. Now that this is all dry, what we're going to do is we are going to take and do the boat real quick, just so I know the values that the boat will be, and also right away go right into the reflection of that boat into the water. It's good to know what the color is of the boat, but first you'll go with the color of the water for the reflection more than you will the color of the boat at first. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you will see it depending on, again, conditions of the water. You will see, like, let's say this boat was be red, then you would just take and put a red into the reflection too. But first you want to put in the dark color of the water most of the time. And then after you do, once you have that, now I'll explain. So let's just go in here and just do a nice dark boat. Maybe I'll make it a warmish red, dark red boat. And so we'll go in here real quickly, and again, this is about reflections of the boat. It's not about doing a painting of a boat. I want to teach you how to do the reflections. And so here I'm going to do the dark part of the boat now. Just get in there and put some nice color into this. It's going to be more of an orange boat because I want to have like orange and blue complements. And so we'll just go right up to here, wet this area of the boat. Now put in a little bit darker as it goes forward here, a little bit darker. And make it a little bit lighter as it goes back because the sun in the picture is right here. So that'll be a little bit lighter. And so I always go and I let's put a little bit of orange over here and just let it be lighter as it goes back. And then as it goes back this way, we'll just have that be the dark. And I can even put even brighter orange in this area if I want to make it look like the photograph where those parts are nice and orangey, making it look like the sun is burning parts of it into the boat. Here the rooftop, I'll kind of make it really orange here. And I'm doing this on this boat, and then when I get over here, I'm going to make that super bright orange to pick up that nice bright orange colors on the boat. And so again, this is not about how to do a boat. It's going to be how to do the reflections, but I do need to have these colors so I know later on what the value of the reflection will be. Now this boat in front here, make that a little. I'm going to take not this color I have of the boat first. I'm first going to take the color of the water, which was the darker blue, right? Or is this blue? And so I'll make it darker, almost a black blue, very dark. I do want to make it very dark because I want to make it the same value as what the boat is. And that'll kind of bring it down here. And I'm just going to bring that in. And same thing with back here. I want it to be a blue that's more the color of what's back here, or the value that's back here. So a little bit lighter, the reflection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first not worry so much about the wave itself, but just the reflection. But then when I get to the edge to identify the shape, it's going to be opposite that. And so where the water is light, that's where it breaks in. That's the top of the wave, and so I'm not going to go over that light part. I'm just going to stay on the light part and use that as my little break-in. That's the wave, and the top of the wave is light, so I would not cover that down. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that it's dark, and that's where you see the wave coming into the reflection. And so we'll just put a little bit of this color into the boat right away too. So like I said, first I use the color of the water, and then I will use some of the orange that's in the boat here. I will put that into the wave then afterwards while it's wet, and I float my pigment in there. Now I'll go and I'll constantly look at my dark washes I put in first, and that's where I will put in the dark wave. I will put in the dark reflection right on top of the dark, and leaving some of the light alone, because that's the top of the wave, and that would not reflect. That would just stay on the top, and sometimes it's gonna break through, and then you don't see the reflection because you're seeing the sky instead. See, the farther I get away, I'm going to see more of the top of that wave, which is light. And then, of course, you see, I could draw it on exactly like it is in the photograph. But again, this is to generalize. I want you to be able to do this if there was no picture for it. Be able to know what's happening in the wave. And see, I'm going light, leaving the light alone, and just putting my reflection in the dark, and also in the medium. So the very light part is where I keep the top of the wave and let that stay light. And then I put it in the dark and in the middle tones to show the reflection. So like here I got white, so there I'm going to keep that light, and then I'm just going to put this little the pole that sticks up here in the front of the boat. That will be put down, and it all depends on where it's dark here because I'll put it in the dark, but when it gets light, I'm going to stay away from that because again, that is the top of the wave and you would not see a reflection because it's not reflecting in that because that is reflecting something else, the sky above it. And just keep on coming down here again. See, I stay away from the light section and put it into the dark section. How dark you have it, as it goes away from the boat, it's going to get lighter. And also depending on the contrast of the boat, like this whole pink can maybe go right to here about. And so here there's a lot of light, so I'm just going to stay with that. And also you can make it up too as you go along here. You can make it up where you leave some of the light or just cover it up because it's so close to the boat that here you're not going to see a lot of that because it's so thin. It'll be so thin, and it's so covered up that you don't see any light of the sky on the top of the wave. So here again, here's the dark area. That's a dark part. That's the part when I put down first. Those dark parts are where you throw the reflection into that and leave the light to be the edge that goes into the dark. That edge right there goes in. All the light parts go into the dark. That's how you get the edge. A nice sharp edge too. I like you to make it really sharp when you get to the edge of that. Let's do it again over here. It goes into the dark area. So now we have these beautiful looking waves and it looks very watery because we stayed away from the light area and just put our reflections in the dark parts of the wave. Because it's at 3 different angles again. You know, it's angled a different way. And now I'm going to take out my rigger brush. And I love getting little things in there. So let's say we have an antenna. And again, this is not going to be a finished painting. This is just to show you. So let's say we have these little flagpoles on here. And we have maybe a dark flag we'll put in there later. Put some color into it. Let's put it in there right now. So I'll put a little color in there. And then maybe there's a little antenna, and there's stuff going on, there's little lines, and there's all kinds of lines and ropes and stuff hanging. And that things you can then reflect into the water also. Like here we have a little bit of this material tied around the front of these things, front of these boats. Not sure what that represents. But you can then reflect that into the water also. And that would make some really neat small reflections. And so you can again, like this right here, this little thing, you kind of start right here in the dark area. And again, don't touch the light area. The top part of the wave, leave that alone. Let's put a little thing here. Again, put it into darks. And you can put a reflection inside a reflection too. Like here is a darker part of this reflection inside this medium reflection, so you get double reflection. And that happens. You'll see there could be like a red. Let's say this material is red, bright red. Hold on, let me get a little bit of bright red here. So let's say this is a bright red material. Then you put that in the reflection, dark, make that also red. But stay away again from your light area. You don't want to go into the light area because that is not reflecting what's above it. It's reflecting like what's towards you, up in front of you. So now I go down right here, and I will put this same thing. This flag comes in here, and I will go into the dark areas, and again leave the light areas alone. There we go. And so we got a nice reflection of that flag. This flag will start right over here somewhere, again in the dark parts. You can break it up, but try never to put it into the light area. Always try to put it in the dark side of the wave that you established in the very first time, remember? You can put a little bit of it into the light, because it could, maybe the way it's starting to turn, you can put a little bit of it into, and it's not going to make a difference if you're off a little bit or something, because it is supposed to look like it's moving, and that's one way of doing that is just, give it all kinds of different movement in the water. So I put a little bit of orange in there because this is pretty orange right here, so I'm going to put a little bit of that into the water reflection. But only after do you want to get the color into the wave, into the reflection. And now I also want to talk about that these are reflections and not shadows. Sometimes I call them shadow reflections because if this is in shadow, then that will be in shadow also. But there's sometimes when the water is kind of murky, let's say the sun is back there, you'll on top of the water actually get a shadow on top of the water, but that is not a reflection, that's a shadow. But we're just talking today, we're talking about the reflection of the boat in the water. And yes, the wave itself is shadowed away from the light, because there's more, these first ones we put in there, that's shadowed away from the light. I hope that makes kind of sense to you, because that also, when you get to a point where you feel like it's very close to finish, I like to take out white paint to give like a little reflection, the white parts, because a lot of times I don't know to put masking fluid down in the very beginning, but something like this, I want to show you how you can take white paint after you're done, or when you get to pretty much done to where it's almost finished. I'm going to take white, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look where the light is, because a lot of times there will be sparkle on top of the water from the, let's say the sun is right in this area right here. Let's put the sun in there, really light right there. And so then right on the edges of here, we can make our light parts even lighter. And don't go into the dark part. The dark part, again, is the dark away from it. It's not reflecting that part. And so I'm going to put in some light reflections that way. And these are going to be really super white now. And if there was something, let's say rim lighting on this thing right there, you can put that into the reflection of the water too. You can just kind of reflect rim lighting into the water right above it. See how I'm just going to put little dots there? And that could be a little dot. And then there's sparkle. I don't know if you've ever seen, if you're looking into the sun and into the water at the same time, you're going to get sparkle that hits the top of each of the light parts. The wave is, where the wave is light, that's where you're going to put the very top of that, is where you're going to put dots. And that's where the sparkle happens, right on top of the highest part of the wave. So like right here, where this is light, you put the little white specks, the little white dots, and that's just shininess of the sparkle. It's basically the top part of the light. And so there you have it. There you have a little bit of shininess to it. And this could have even been more orange if I wanted to make it look very, very vibrant like the photo. The photo shows that this whole boat is basically orange. I didn't make it that way, that bright, and but it is bright enough to show you that it's kind of silhouette shape. Not silhouette, yeah, it is silhouette. It's got rim lighting on it. I'm gonna put a little rim lighting on it and make this part really bright, and then the little light reflective parts, and they're shiny reflections. They're shiny reflection off the water. So each one of these little sparks is the sun shining in your eye, basically what it is. It's hitting that part of the water, and depending, the more rippled the water is, the more you're going to get of that, of the shininess. All right, and so every Thursday I do a paint party, and this Thursday we're going to be doing one of a boat, and the boat is going to be not this exact boat, but we're going to be doing a paint along, and I do one every Thursday night, but we're going to study this again. We're going to do reflections of boat into the water. So join me on Thursday, this coming Thursday. What is that? The March 24th, I think, or 23rd or 24th, and we'll do that Thursday night at 6:30, and we'll see you there. All right, bye-bye.